DMR. DMR is a commercial-based kind of thing, and you'll hear it as expressed as turbo, moto-turbo, DMR, digital mobile radio. They're all synonymous. And what is it? The protocol that runs DMR is time division multiple access, and this will make a little bit more sense in some future slides. It takes the digital information and divides it in two. So you end up with 2 time slots. That's one of the other ones. And again, time slots and TDMA will make a little bit more sense here later on. You'll hear the term color code. Color codes are basically PL tones, if you want to think of it. If you don't have the right color code, you don't get into the machine. Okay. Time slots, you'll hear that a lot, time slot 1, or some people just say slot 1. There are 2 of them, slot 1 and slot 2. Talk groups. For those that have ever been in commercial side of the radios, talk group is a numerical value that basically routes your call someplace, whether it be local or onto a wide network. Code plugs. Everybody have a new radio ever used with software to write to your radio and program it and so on? That's what a code plug is. You save a file to your computer and you upload that file to your radio and that programs it for you. Subscriber ID, that is a numerical value that you program into your radio that comes up when you transmit. It's embedded within the digital signal, and we'll kind of cover that a little bit. Zones, channels, and contact list. The way a DMR radio is programmed is that you have a zone. Then inside of the zones you have the channels. So for instance, here in Cody, if there was a DMR system here, you would have a zone called maybe Park County or Park CO. Then inside of that zone, you would have your 2 DMR repeaters, slot 1 and slot 2 respectively, and then maybe analog. The analog in Matitsi and wherever else. So the channels are inside the zones. I'll show you a little picture later on of a code plug that kind of will represent that a little bit better. You'll hear a thing called IPSC, or Internet Protocol Site Connect. IPSC is what ties it all together. That's what the repeaters use over the internet to link together. Master versus peer repeaters. I've got a pretty detailed slide on that that will cover that, but just bear in mind you'll hear that term, master or a peer repeater. And lastly is the C-bridge. That's a piece of hardware. It's a computer basically that runs on a Linux kernel that ties everything together. All the repeaters go back into the C-bridge, and the C-bridge routes it back out to whatever, based upon the talk group, whatever instructions I've given the C-bridge. It basically says, if I hear this, do this. That's what it really does. So if I hear 3156, route it to all of these. Do this. So we have 2 repeaters in one, basically. We're not going to worry too much about the top portion here. What I really want to talk about and focus on is this bottom down here. The dark blue will represent slot 1. The light blue represents slot 2. Now bear in mind that you're on the same frequency. Okay, but because it is digital, it allows that multiplexing to divide the signal in half. Great low cost, or a lower infrastructure cost, because now you have one repeater supplying or having the ability to supply 2 individual simultaneous conversations at the same time. I'm going to play a little audio file. Hopefully the audio is loud enough in here. You'll be able to hear this. When I start this, this is a DMR signal as received on an analog radio. You'll hear the it goes really, really fast. And that is the division of slot 1 and slot 2. At the very end of the audio file, all of that disappears and you just hear a data stream. When that happens, that is, the repeaters are basically saying, shut down, I'm done, there's no more data, so on. So it's kind of more of a control stream, if you may. So here we go. This will give you an idea. If my mouse works. There, it dropped. There, that's all the control stream. So you can hear that really, really fast in there. I mean, it really, really zooms. So, and I should also preface this in the beginning that DMR is not difficult, but it is a learning curve to some, especially if you've been around mostly analog. To go to this next part of digital technology. So I won't necessarily, I don't think I'll have time at the end here to take questions and answers, but I will say that I'll be around the whole fest, the whole convention. Grab me. I'll be around wherever, and excuse me. So please connect up with me. You know, I'll sit and talk this stuff all day long. Again, 2 simultaneous voice transmissions on the same frequency at the same time. Okay? One of the advantages with DMR is the battery life of radios. I'll pass around a couple of these as we're talking. This is mine. This is the Motorola series. This is an MB380. Basically, the difference between these two, they both work on our network. This is about 130 bucks, about that. This is about 900. So, because it has that unusual big M name on there, you know. So I'll pass those around. You guys can turn those on and take a look at them. 40% improvement on battery life. My little handheld there comes out of the charger on Monday morning. It doesn't go back in until Friday, and I still have maybe 3/4 of a battery remaining. So they last for quite a while. One of the advantages with DMR is you can send text messages. Okay, works great if you want to do weather alerts, club meetings, or announcements. I could send a text message to Mark and say, "Happy birthday, dude." And by the way, it's digital, and you guys don't, other people on the network don't get it. It's directed to Mark only. Okay. Or you can send it to a group. Tornado warning, Cheyenne, whatever. So that's one of the advantages as well. Some of the other area DMR networks down in Colorado is Rocky Mountain Ham. The Wyoming DMR network itself was modeled after Rocky Mountain Ham. They were kind of my Elmers, if you would, when I was learning all of this stuff. So there are some nuances between the two networks, but Rocky Mountain Ham is all in Colorado. They have a network that goes from Cheyenne to Albuquerque. They're building out to the western slope of Colorado. And Jeff, you go out to Kansas border yet?
Heading that way.
Heading that way.
Springfield. Yes.
Okay. The other bottom two, DMR Mark and Brian Meister, those are both national, worldwide networks. The Brandmeister is the newest of them. DMR Mark is the original one. But if you get on one of those two networks, you can talk all over the world. And by the way, I wish I would have did a recording on DMR to give you guys an idea of the quality. It is as clear as what I am talking to you right now. It doesn't matter, there's no fence picketing, there's no white noise on the signal. The thing with DMR, you're in it or you're not. If you're in it, you're in it. You're not on the fence post, you're not scratchy, you're in it. Okay? So the audio quality is superb. It does take a little bit getting used to because there are no squelch tails on DMR. So you'll key your microphone and you'll unkey it and it's like it's not even working while there's no squelch tails. So what is the let's get into the Wyoming DMR project actually. While attending a conference, Rob Cleveland, N7 EMA, he's the emergency manager in Cheyenne for Laramie County. While he was at a conference for managers, emergency managers, he went through a demo of DMR. And while doing that demo, he said, this is really cool. This is something that I could take back to Cheyenne and apply it throughout the state. So that was how we started doing this. Wyoming DMR was developed to increase communications during ARRLs, races, public safety events, weather spotting, so on. And it was intended to provide statewide communications. Okay. Our phases of development, we've divided that into 3 phases. Our phase 1 is to provide saturation on the 3 major interstates in Wyoming. Of course, I-80, I-25, and I-90. Our phase 2 is to provide coverage in each of the county seats not covered by phase 1. And lastly is phase 3, and that is to fill in the holes not covered by phase 1 and 2. And its goal, ultimately, at phase 3, is to provide just near total saturation in the state of Wyoming. So that's our ultimate goal. As we've been building out the network, we haven't necessarily followed that plan exactly. We have a repeater going up in Fremont County, and it's nowhere near phase 1. But it's going to be a great site. That's going to fill in a huge hole in the center of Wyoming. How do you begin? First, obtain a subscriber ID by logging on to dmrmark.net. You must have a subscriber ID before you begin transmitting. Let me just say there's a nuance to that. Wyoming DMR network is exclusive locally just in Wyoming. We don't go outside to the worldwide network. So you really don't need a subscriber ID because you're not on the worldwide network. However, Wyoming I have the ability of linking into the worldwide network. So if you happen to be on and I turn a link on and establish a link to Brandmeister or to DMR Mark, and you're using a radio that doesn't have a registered ID, it kind of really breaks the network down. Program your radio using one of the available code plugs from Wyoming DMR. We do maintain code plugs for you, so a couple guys who worked at Motorola, they can tell you that they've programmed P25, and Tom told me that, he says, man, when I got to DMR, oh man, he says, it's tough to program. So we do that. We've got some code writers that's all they do for the group. Here we go. TS1 or time slot 1 is talk group 3156. It is the Wyoming wide. It routes your audio to all of the repeaters on the Wyoming DMR network. I say that because if you're going to carry on a conversation on Wyoming wide, just bear in mind that you're linking, you're accessing all the repeaters on the network. Jeff, 30 repeaters on Rocky Mountain Ham? So if you're on the Rocky Mountain wide network, or if you're on RM Ham's network and talking on the Rocky Mountain wide talk group, you key that microphone and you're keying up 30 repeaters on their network. So please bear that in mind when you're talking. Time slot 2 is also called talk group 100, and it is what we refer to as Wyoming local. It is not linked, however, it can be by one of our network admins. What I mean by that is, let's use as an example, there is a repeater, a DMR repeater here in Cody. Slot 1 is on Wyoming wide. Slot 2 is Wyoming local. If there was a fire in Yellowstone and their base camp was here in Cody, the hams could say to me, hey, we need a link back to Boise Fire Command, the National Fire Command Center in Boise, Idaho. They have a DMR repeater there. We want to link that. So I can take the slot 2, which is Wyoming local here, and link it to the Boise repeater. We have to redo your code plug for that. But what happens now is that if you need to talk to Boise Fire Command, you just go to slot 2, key your microphone, boom, and you're over there. Let's take it one step further. Earthquake. So now we need to, I've been asked to establish a link to FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Not a problem. Okay, slot 2, you're connected. Okay, so it does add some versatility in that regards. And I can do that without disrupting the rest of the network. So those up here in Cody, when they go to slot 2, they're talking to Washington, D.C. and the Boise Fire Command on slot 2, but those in Casper don't even hear it. A disaster happens in Casper and they say, hey, we're pulling resources from Denver. So I can establish a link to the RM ham repeater down in Denver. And again, you guys don't hear their slot 2, they don't hear what's going on here, but if you need to talk to somebody in the state, you go to slot 1, and now you're on the network. The FCC does require you to ID, just as you do on analog, or HF. Where do I go for help? Ask on the air. Subscribe and follow the Wyoming DMR project on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, I do a lot of posting on Facebook. We have code plugs out there, general information. If a repeater's offline, I post it there, so on. So you can do that. Those are the 3 network admins. Myself, I just brought Jeff on board. He agreed to come on board. It was really nice of him because he's going to have the fire hose treatment this summer as we're going through setting up new repeaters and so on. So he actually says he's looking forward to it. Sadistic individual. Rob in 7 EMA is the county coordinator down in Laramie County, and he's kind of the boss behind this whole Wyoming DMR project. So what are some of the requirements? We allow voice on either time slots, text messages on either time slots. We ask that you ID and then announce what talk group you're on. Okay? You can almost do that Wyoming local. If you're in Cheyenne, we have a repeater in Cheyenne and a repeater up on top of the summit between Cheyenne and Laramie. They're both accessible from Cheyenne. But if Tom is on Cheyenne local and I'm on Laramie local and he calls me, it just comes up as Wyoming local. So I don't know that he's on Laramie Tower, okay, or on Cheyenne Tower, whatever. So if he was going to call me, it would be WY or your N7GT WY7KY on Laramie local, okay, or N7GT Wyoming wide monitoring. Boom, there you go. Following good standard operating practices as usual. Some of the things that aren't allowed is GPS and APRS. With DMR, you can actually when you turn your radio on, it's very similar to WireLink or to some of the P25 technologies. When you turn your radio on, it sends out a little data stream, and all of a sudden your radio pops up on an electronic map, and they can track you as you move across the state. So Highway Patrol does this, am I right? I think Highway Patrol does it, so when the patrolman turns on his radio and he goes from Cheyenne to Casper, they can actually look on the map to see where he's at. The problem with that is that it occupies an entire time slot with nothing but GPS data. So you pretty much lose a time slot in there.
One other problem, Greg.
What's that?
There's one other problem.
What's that?
It doesn't ID.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't ID, that's right. That's the biggest one, it doesn't ID. Yeah, every 10 minutes. Use of the talk groups outside of the established groups, so there's only two talk groups in Wyoming. Talk Group 100, which is Wyoming local, and Talk Group 3156, which is Wyoming wide. Okay, those are the only two that will do anything on the network, that will go anywhere. If you by chance are using another talk group on the network, it can actually prevent people from getting onto the network because you're on the time slot transmitting, and when you key your microphone, you're going to get a bonk tone. And what I mean by a bonk tone is, yeah, here's Rocky Mountain Ham.
Can't reach that repeater from here.
I know.
Right.
So what? Yeah. So it tells you whether you're in range of the repeater or not. So that's something else that you don't do on analog. If there was a repeater here in Cody and I keyed up and I can't get to the repeater. Okay. So that's one of the advantages. If you do get into it, you get like a little three beep kind of thing that you're actually connected.
So that tells you you're not connected.
That's telling me I'm not connected. That's what we call a bonk tone, or that you're denied. So with the talk groups, let's say you two gentlemen are using your own talk group on Wyoming wide, and I'm down in Cheyenne and I key up the microphone and I get the bonk tone. I'm like, I can see the repeater from here. Why can't I get into it? That's because you guys are on different talk groups and occupying Wyoming wide, and I can't. It's going to say the channel's busy. Okay, so I'm going to get the bonk tone.
How many people can be on the same channel? Just two?
No. But what I'm saying is, you don't want to use the same. You want to use the same talk group that's been established. Don't go off and use something else because you're not going to be able. You're going to prevent others from getting on.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, everybody in this room could be on Wyoming wide or on Wyoming local and carry on a conversation between us, just one huge round table. Okay. Let's take a look at some of our current sites as of May 2017. We have our active site in Cheyenne. This is our big one. We have one up on what we call the Laramie Tower, which is up on Pilot Hill, Sherman Hill, between Cheyenne and Laramie, up on top of the summit there. We have a site at the Buffalo Airport. We have one at Rollins on our hill, just south of I-80 there, by the big R on the hill, hence the name R Hill. Rock Springs. The Rock Springs site, we're not for, I really don't know what the status is down there. It's located at a gentleman's house. It was up on a mountain, but they had some vandalism done at the mountain, and so they took the repeater down, and I really don't know what the status is. I sent him an email prior to coming up here, and I never got a response back.
Is that Dave?
Yes.
He is trying to get it back up at this point.
Okay. Okay.
I heard that 2-3 weeks ago, and that's the last I heard.
Sure.
He was trying to get it back up.
The site they had was up on Aspen Mountain, and if we could have gotten up there, that would have been a phenomenal site. It basically would have covered from the Point of Rocks practically to Evanston, all the way to Wamsutter. That, just a huge amount of area along I-80. That would have been ideal. What's coming in the fall? I say the fall of 2017. The goal is we have a lot of snow still up on Laramie, or up on Limestone. The last I heard from Mark was 10 feet of snow at the repeater site. And so the only way we get there now is with snowcat and a snow shovel. I'll drive the snowcat and Mark can use the
And
snow
I'll hire
shovel.
somebody to show it.
Casper Mountain is coming. We've got a site up on Casper Mountain. And we're going to put in a site at Torrington. That section, I-25 is a really unique breed. There's some areas there that just, it's hard to get coverage on I-25, especially around the Douglas area. So this will actually, even though it's west of Torrington, it actually covers I-25. So from Chugwater almost to Wheatland. Let's take a look at some of our coverage maps. So the green signifies really good coverage, basically. The yellow is marginal. So this is our Cheyenne Tower. This is at Archer Overpass, which is just east of Cheyenne. This is the projected map for Pilot Hill, the Laramie Tower. And you can see in there that there is going to be some overlap, of course, out in here. But if we go back, you can see that this area up in here is not covered by the Cheyenne Tower, but it is somewhat covered by Laramie. This is the projected map for Buffalo.
This is portable, right? Mobile?
This is, the way I did the projection map was a mobile station running 2 watts.
Okay.
So almost, basically a portable on an external antenna. Here's our Rollins site. And Rollins again is another really rare area to where just, you know, if we had internet access up on top of Elk Mountain, thank you. We'd have massively good coverage out there. It'd be like a tower site up on top or a site up on top of Laramie Peak. Wonderful. This is going to be limestone. This is projected, estimated. Kind of depends upon where we place the antenna and so on. But this is the map for placing it at the building roof level, 10 feet off the ground. So limestone is notorious for ice and wind and so on. Welcome to Wyoming. That I'm not for sure how well we're going to be able to move the antenna up higher or not. I think it's a 130-foot tower, I think, up there. So I'm not for sure what we're going to be able to do there. Here's the projected map for Casper. Here's a projected map for Torrington. And you can see now that it goes over to Scotts Bluff, almost up into Lusk. And look at the intermittent coverage along I-25. So what we really need is a really good site somewhere between Douglas and Glendo to hopefully kind of do some overlap coverage in there. Ultimately, in the fall of 2017, this is what our coverage map will look like for the entire state of Wyoming. Okay? I will say that we are hopefully going to also be looking at a site in Jackson. So we'll see some coverage over in here as well. But as Sam and I have discussed, to really cover that part of the world over there, because of all the mountains, we need about 4 repeaters over there.
I've narrowed it down to 3.
Okay. So this is actually kind of a detailed slide. How am I doing on time? 10 minutes? Okay. So here is where we're talking about the difference between a master and a peer. The way our network is engineered or designed, all the repeaters at all the sites are masters. A master, and the reason for that is there's less bandwidth to conduct between a master back to the C bridge and then back out to all the other masters. So we decided to do it this way. So if you look with the masters all along here, those all come back to the C bridge, which is in Cheyenne. So when this repeater has something on it, it goes to here. The C bridge says, am I listening to 3156? And if so, then let's route it. It may say, oh, I'm listening to talk group 100, and it's local, it doesn't do anything. Back to that, if I hear this, then do this.
Is that fiber optic from the master to the C bridge, or how are you making your connection?
No, it's all through the internet. Sure.
But the internet via
Providers.
providers. Okay.
Right. And actually the bandwidth from a master to a C bridge will run over a DSL line, which is only 1.5 megs down.
So
So
you've got a lower end.
it's, yeah. So let's talk about this concept of peers out here. As I just mentioned about a tower site in Jackson, what we could do, let me describe the difference between a peer and a master. A peer will repeat exactly what it hears from its associated master. Does that make sense? So whatever is heard on the master goes to the peer and vice versa. Okay? So, what we could do in this example here, this repeater here would be in Jackson. This repeater would be up in Yellowstone. This repeater would be down in Pinedale. And this repeater might be, up on what?
Bradley, covering Star Valley.
Yeah, okay. So, what would happen in there is that, remember I said talk group 100 doesn't go anywhere? This is the exception. Talk group 100, if you were on talk group 100 on a peer, it will be heard on the master. It will be retransmitted by the master, as well as all the peers. Okay? Does that make sense? Is that okay? And I wish I had a little bit more time, but this really gets kind of a little bit of the technical aspect of things. This has never been tried, but if you look at the math, our C bridge will manage 30 master repeaters. It's a 30-slot C bridge. Okay? So, that means right now I could have 30 repeaters in the state of Wyoming, 30 master repeaters that will all be managed by the C bridge. Sir?
So if you've got a site that's up, let's say at 7,000 feet, you've got 5 feet of snow and the internet goes out at that site, what happens?
The repeater, the connection into the network dies. And the repeater still stays up, but the internet connection to the network dies.
But you can still use the repeater?
Correct.
You
Okay,
basically
I
have
think
two
that's
repeaters.
good to know.
Right. So here's the math part of this. Each master can host up to 15 peers. So, in this example, just imagine, on this one repeater here, 15 peers. On this one repeater, 15 peers. On this one, 15 peers. So if you do the math, theoretically, under this design with our current C bridge, we could host a total of 450 repeaters in the state of Wyoming. That's a lot. Mark?
Greg, just a quick question on the master peer connection. The master would link all those peers, but when it goes to the C bridge, would the C bridge still see that as talk group 100 and not send it to the other masters?
Correct. Correct.
So you'd have them repeating locally, but not Wyoming-wide.
That's correct. And really, if you think of the C bridge as the old operator, what was the gal's name? One ringy dingy, two ringy dingy.
Ernestine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ernestine, yep.
You take the cable out, you plug it in here. You take a cable out and you plug it in here, and it establishes the connection. Okay, that's really what the C-bridge is. There's a bunch of cables, you know, routing this and routing here and so on. Okay? So, compatible radios, they must be DMR type 2. That's really super important. There's a Chinese manufacturer out there right now that is advertising type 1, type 2, type 3 DMRs. When you key up on slot 1, it also keys up on slot 2. When you key up on slot 2, it also keys up on slot 1. And it crashes the network. Okay? So, real quick, Motorola's, these are the HTs and the mobiles. Here's the Titera, which is the MD380, which I passed along. The Connect systems these are all compatible radios that we can use on the network. The first three are their handhelds. The CS580 is in kind of competition with the MD380. And then their mobile, the CS800. The Hyteras. I don't have this much experience with Hyteras. So if you're looking for information about Hyteras, I would say reach out.
Just for your info, there's 2 MD380s in the grand prize list.
Wow.
Any bow fund?
Oh, God.
Those are the Chinese radios he was referring to earlier.
There's one other we've been experimenting with up in Bozeman. It's a Yanton. And it's supposedly compatible, but I don't know type 1 or type 2. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. I have not.
It looks
Bill,
a lot
anything
like
with
the...
them? Nothing?
It looks a lot like the one that you've got, but they're I call it the off-market one there, and full display, everything analog, digital, and it's $89, and then another $8 for a programming cable, and it's not a piece of crap bow fun.
Wow.
It's a real radio.
A real radio. Wow.
Y-A-N-T-O-N?
Yeah,
So-
YANTON.
But I would really recommend that you reach out to others, and I forgot to mention on the network side of things, the slide, the other networks, Montana is now building a DMR network. Bill, how many sites? 6, 7, 8. 8 sites in Montana. Okay, so they're building out up there as well now. I'm really happy to see that. Here's a graphic of some of the Motorola radios. The 2 repeaters, the 2 big boxes there. This is the MTR 3000. This is an XPR 8300. The different mobile radios. The XPR 5550. I've got that one in my car. Great radio. The MD380, the MD390. These are Connect systems. And then Hytera's breed. And Hytera does some really nice stuff. I mean, they've got really nice, cool stuff. Although it's kind of unusual. They mount the antenna on a Hytera right in the center of the radio, not off to the side like hams are accustomed to. Oh well. This is Motorola's new repeater, the DMR repeater. This is what our sites consist of, most of our sites, is the SLR series. This repeater is about that tall. Wow. It fits into a 1U rack. So, and it is a, quote, true repeater. It's not like the XPR 8300 and 8400. Those 2 repeaters are basically 2 mobiles tied together. Okay? So, and this is a 50-watt continuous duty machine, and it rocks. It is phenomenal. This is the new MTR, this replaces the MTR 3000. It's the SLR 8000 repeater. I've not seen one yet. I'm hoping to get my hands on one, and they just released an SLR 1000, which is probably about the size of this bag here, size-wise, and it's, I don't know, a couple inches thick. Built-in integrated duplexer, has IPSC, an external antenna connection. It's really designed for something like this. You throw it up at a ham fest or whatever. Coming on board. How do we come on board? Club purchase. If you've got a radio club that is interested in purchasing their own DMR stuff, purchase it. Bring it up. Talk to us first. We'll give you the ins and outs. We've got a lot of resources for special pricing and so on. Individual purchase. You know, if you're independently wealthy, like my buddy Marty over here, who's retired, you know, he write out a check for 10 grand, no problem. Or, preferred way is contact your emergency manager and ask them to apply for a Department of Homeland Security grant. The federal grants will pay for the antenna, the hard line, the grounding, the power. If the site charges you for power, they'll pay for that, and the internet. Some of our sites don't have internet, so we use a backhaul system built by Ubiquity to go from, basically from here up to the mountaintop that doesn't have internet. Okay? Wyoming DMR will supply a VPN router. Everything on the network is within a VPN tunnel. So it is absolutely secure. Okay? And besides, what are they going to hack if they get in? Shut my repeater off? Yeah, big deal. I'll just reboot it. So here we go. Thank you for attending. I made it.
Almost.
Almost. I will be around for the entire convention. I'd love to take some more questions. We'll take one.
And I'm sorry I came late, but we came from Montana. Is this usually on 450?
The Wyoming network is all 450. It is exclusively 450. Okay?
Do you ever get used equipment from like highway departments or so on?
Not that I have seen. The highway department, at least in like in Wyoming and some of the other parts of the Navy, they're all P25 or they're analog.
Okay.
Okay? So no, we don't get it. Mark?
Not a question, Jake. Greg, just a quick shameless plug. The Fremont County DMR group is raffling off an MD380, and if you see me, I have tickets with me. It's to help put up our site.
So there we go.
And who owns these sites and has funded everything that's in place now?
That's correct.
Who? I said who?
Okay, so for like Cheyenne, Laramie County Emergency Management. The Laramie Hill, or the Laramie Tower is located at the Shiwai Amateur Radio Club's repeater site. But I believe the internet is supplied by the University of Wyoming, thanks to them. And that's the thing, is partner out with some different people. I'll be around for the entire convention if you have any questions, and I guess let's draw the...
You pass out tickets,
Anybody
be nice.
not get a ticket?
Got a couple back there too.
Also, for those that are interested in looking at one, this is called an open spot. This is brand new to DMR. These are neat little devices. This is basically a little milliwatt transceiver that will cross protocols. So I can go out onto a DMR system using an analog HT with this, or a C4FM HT, or a D-Star HT, and it will cross across. I can use, all I have are the DMR stuff, so I can use DMR, my DMR HT on DMR, and cross through this out to D-Star. So
That will do analog to DMR?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Analog to DMR.
It's called Open Spot. They're about $200, and if you want to take a look at it, I'll have it sitting over here at the table for a little bit as I clean up and get ready to do this. So thank you all for attending. I'm sorry it was really, really quick and dirty, but I really appreciate it.